Hi everybody! So what I'd like to go over in this video is Activity C, especially because we've now missed a couple days of class due to the snow. And though you've gotten started with the reading, I am going to ask you to also get started with the graphic organizer itself. Um, so let me tell you about what it is. That way I think if you can picture what it's going to look like when it's finally due at the end of the month, you can have a better sense of how to get started. So I'm going to show you a picture of one from last year. I've blurred it out because obviously I want you to do your own work. But here's one really great example that somebody put together last year. And I'm going to talk you through the pieces and then come back and show you how they did it. Okay, so this is one example of how it might look at the end. It could look very different. So what you're going to be doing is, and the whole purpose of this assignment, this task, is just to help you think through a few specific questions. And those are here. Uh-oh. So first of all, how are theories of first or child language and then second language or third or fourth, but additional language acquisition, how are those processes similar and different? Then also, how are those theories that exist around how kids learn their first languages, how has that influenced the development of second language theories, second language acquisition theories? And then finally, how has this all changed over the years? Some of the theories that you've read about and are going to read about have been discredited. How have those been built upon and shifted and changed over the years? So those are your big goals. That's what you want to be thinking through as you do this. Another way, honestly, of thinking of the purpose of this is just as a way of organizing what you're learning, because there's a lot in these two chapters, the one about first language acquisition and then the one you're going to read about second language acquisition. There's a lot there, and so this is a way of sort of synthesizing your notes around that. So I want to reiterate, there isn't one way to do this. There's lots of ways. It's a flexible tool, and I don't have in mind one way that it needs to look, okay? What I do encourage you to do, what I am looking for, is that you explore those questions that I've got by comparing these different theories. So notice that you've read Lightbound and Spada chapter 1, and it talked about these three different perspectives. And then you're going to be later reading Lightbound and Spada chapter 4, and you're going to notice some overlap, right? So both, there's a behaviorist perspective for both first and additional language development. There's an innatist perspective for both first and additional language acquisition. So what I would imagine is that in your graphic organizer, there's going to be some connections there, right? And one thing I will say, kind of as a hint, I guess, or as a connection point, is that these theories of second language or new language acquisition pulled very much on ideas that already existed about how children learn their first language or their first languages. So when you're drawing your graphic organizer, for example, you might be drawing arrows leading from behaviorist ideas for how children learn to behaviorist ideas for how people learn a new language. So I'm going to go back briefly to this one example. And what you can't see here is this purple rectangle. This is first language acquisition. And the blue one is second. And I thought this was just a really nice way to do it because there's intersection points. But it still was a way of kind of showing how theories were originally about first language acquisition and then influenced second language acquisition. So as another example, here in this box, the author of this diagram wrote behaviorism or behaviorist perspectives, a short definition of what it was, connected it forward to one of the main proponents of that theory, and then connected it forward in time to how that theory manifested in second language acquisition, and who were the people that took that original theory and then applied it to second language acquisition. And they did the same thing for innatist. So innatist begins up here, talks about some of the people and the ideas that defined it in terms of first language acquisition, and then connected it forward in time to the way that those theories then manifested and changed and shifted when they were applied to second language acquisition. So that's one way you might show these connections between the two, but also how they've shifted over time. The next thing to guide you is I've got a couple slides here that list the main ideas from, in this case, this is from Chapter 1 in Lightbound and Spada, which you have already read, and then this is the list that will guide you in Chapter 4 of Lightbound and Spada. And so these are ideas and people that it would make sense to include in your graphic organizer. And so it's here as a way to help you really, in a thick chapter, pull to the surface the main things to really pay attention to, and then to also guide you in what you include